Hey everyone, it's KnifeFighter22, and welcome to my video about how to crush everyone with the King's Gambit. Now, the King's Gambit, it is, as you can see from the board, it is a very exciting and, dynamic, very interesting opening. And, in my opinion, many Grandmasters and high-rated players look down on this opening, and they don't really play it much, purely because it isn't safe. Not really from either side. But I completely disagree with that, and I'm going to show you why. And I'm just going to show you how to do really well with it. Just before I start, I'm just going to say that I have a live Blitz series with about 30 odd videos on it on this channel, and please check it out if you do like live Blitz. I'm not forcing you to. I'm just saying that if you like live Blitz, it's there so to check it out. Okay, so right, the King's Gambit. So if you don't know how it starts, it just starts E4. E5, let's just flip this over, and most white players, everyone just plays this, knight to F3, and then you have knight to C6, or something like that. But King's Gambit, as you can see from the black perspective already, it's just going to completely take them out of their comfort zone. So according to chess.com, 90% of the time the person will take. So let's go over this, first. Okay, so if your opponent takes, they are threatening queen to h4 check, which does look nasty. So there are two alternatives you can do to this. One, which I don't really like, which is Bobby Fischer's favourite, is bishop to c4. But I don't like this, because look, you have queen to h4 check, you can't play g3, because pawn takes pawn with the rook, so you have to move the king over to f1, and you got bishop to f5, and your opponent's already threatening checkmate. So basically, I just think it's a complete fail. A much better alternative I would offer you is knight to f3. And this defends the h4 square and just helps you with development. This pawn is controlling the white squares such as f5 and e5, and this knight's controlling key squares such as e5, d4 and g5. Okay, so the most common reply regarded as best response in this position is just d6. You will have some very daring players wanting to play g5 in this position, but basically 9 times out of 10 you will not see that, because players feel more comfortable with castling king side, and queen side is fairly difficult for most people. So from here you can just play d4, and you can see you've got a complete lovely attack. And don't worry about this about being a pawn down in the opening, because you can see with this bishop, after the d pawn moves, it's pretty easy to get it back. So knight f6 attacking your pawn, knight to d3 defending, and then you could have maybe bishop to d7, which looks good, and then you take the pawn. Okay, so that's from an accepted line. It looks like very comfortable position. Another thing I like about this is after you say maybe play bishop to c4 and then you castle, you have this rook on the open f file, and it always proves very handy. Very, very handy on an open f file. It's really nice not just to have to waste the move. Now you can move the other rook on the e file, and it's just really nice. Okay, so let's just go back to this. Let's say if your opponent, let's just go back one more move. Let's say if your opponent does not take the pawn. If they do not take the pawn, they're most likely to play something like this, knight to c6. So say they play this knight to c6 move, you can't take, because if you take, then you have no, knight won't take. You have this queen to h4 check again, and then you have g3, and then queen takes e4 check, bishop to d2, and you lose the rook. So you can't really do that. So basically, I play knight to f3 first, and then your opponent may play d6, and now you can take the pawn, and your opponent would take the pawn, and you have a very nice game here. Maybe play something like bishop c4, and you're into a kind of Italian opening, but I would say you do have a slight advantage, because you've traded an f pawn for a central pawn. Okay, so let's go back. Your opponent may not play c6, and there is another alternative which people can play, and that is bishop to c5. And you do have to be careful with this bishop to c5 move, because then you can think, oh, I can just take the pawn for 3. But if you do that, then there is a risk in this, because you have queen to h4 check, and you have to move the king again to king to e2, and then this is checkmate. So you do not want to be doing that at all. So whatever you do is a big no-no, that if you do see this bishop to c5, do not take. I would advise again just playing knight to f3. You're putting even more pressure on this pawn, and your opponent cannot get down to h4. Most likely play d6, and then say maybe you can take advantage of this weak diagonal, and then maybe your opponent will think, okay, now we can take. They play d4, bishop goes back, and again you just have an extremely strong center. Say maybe even if your opponent doesn't decide to take the pawn in this position, maybe they decide to do some more development, attack your pawn with knight to c6. But we still have knight to c3, and then maybe the castle, and then you take, and then they take, and now you grab this pawn, and you know it's just really, you know, whatever they play, you will be able to defend it. And that's basically it. So I've covered all the main three, which is bishops. Wait, let me just go back to this position. So the main three, the best one, the most common one, is to definitely take. And another thing about the King's Gambit, whatever you play, it has an extremely low draw percentage compared to other openings. Like, say, Queen's Gambit or something, that has a draw percentage of like 35%. This has a draw percentage of about 17–18%. So you really find this low draw percentage, which means it's a very dynamic game. And even if your opponent does go for a line like g5, you will often see them casting on the other side of the board in this position. And generally, when you have casting on the king side, casting on the queen side, it is very good. So I hope you now like the King's Gambit. Please give it a try. So yeah, please check out our live blitz series as well. And I will be doing a lot more videos like this in the future. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I wish you really good luck with your chess. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!